it's a long season.
Yeah.
CrossFit is a really long season, and so just keeping them balanced and mentally, motivated to be here, I think is probably the most important part of what we do.
It's kind of like you treat them as individuals as well, because the conversations that I'll have with Holden are totally different from the conversations I have with Garrett. And it's like having that understanding of who you're coaching and how you kind of relay information to them, especially outside of the gym.
Welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Bledsoe here with Doug Larson, and we've traveled down here to CrossFit Invictus, downtown San Diego, and hanging out watching you guys train, getting ready for the CrossFit Games here with Holden Rethwill and Garrett Fisher. And today's show is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, we're doing something a little different today. We're interviewing these guys, and then we're going to take a break and interview Lauren Fisher and Maddie Myers. And in the process, we're actually going to be talking with CJ. CJ Martin is all of these people's coach.
Yeah, and today I want to dig into what it's like to go to the games year after year for you, Garrett, and what it's like to go through the progression and the mental side and just some of the pain and suffering that goes along with the sport, which is unique to this sport versus other sports as well.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, what you've been to the games multiple times. What's it like? What's your goal this year versus last year? And what's it like to prepare for that mentally? Year after year, it's like you finished the games last year and you go, okay, well now I got to start preparing for next year again.
I mean, for me, my goal last year was just to make it back to the games because I didn't make it 2 years in a row. So 2013, I got 5th place. 14, I didn't make it. 15, I didn't make it. And then so last year, my goal was just get back to the games. This year was obviously get back to the games, but this year I want to do well at the games again. My goal this year, to be honest, I placed 5th place. I want to get better than that. So 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or hopefully win it. That's kind of my goal this year. And then just kind of mentally, like for me, it's just a long season. So I've been in the sport how long competing now? Like almost 6-7 years now. So for me, I know once season's done, I'm gonna take a good break, a good month, 2 months of not really coming into the gym too much, doing stuff outside, just mentally relaxed. And then because I know it's a long season ahead of me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have a hard time relaxing that are this type of an athlete. Like this sport attracts people who are like go all the time. What do you do to relax?
Well, after the games for sure, I'm taking a whole week off. I'm not doing anything, and then I got some trips planned ahead of me. I'm going to Nicaragua in September. Just have fun, go to the beach, surf a lot more. Not really worry too much about training because my fitness is going to be there. You're not going to lose too much if you stay active. So just kind of heal up the body because my body's kind of banged up right now. So just kind of physically get well and mentally prepare for the next coming season.
Lots of burritos.
Yeah, a lot of burritos too. Yeah, we're really into this gym's really into burritos down here. So we've definitely been talking about just eating eating burritos like every day. Just relax, just have some good food. Yeah.
Do you find that's a good strategy to be able to disconnect, to intentionally take yourself out of the environment? Like if you're just sitting in San Diego, you'd want to go back to the gym. Like your friends are there. That's your hangout spot. You enjoy training. By going out of town, you kind of automatically are taking yourself out of that training environment, so it's easier to take a break.
Yeah, definitely. And just like I know, like for example, I'm going to Nicaragua, and I know there's really no gym around where I'm going to be going, so I'm not really going to have a need to an itch to go to the gym because there's not going to be anything there. So I think it's good. I like traveling, so it's good.
Yeah. Holden, this is your first year to the games as an individual.
Yeah. Yep.
And last year you were on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like going from team to individual? Or, you haven't been to the games yet, so you're not going to know what that's like. But how did the training change, or did the training change in order to make that leap?
To be honest, all the way through the Open, I was still planning on being on the team, and then the way things shook out afterwards, we had 5 guys for 4 spots. I ended up qualifying for regionals in the position that I did. So CJ and Tino asked me if I'd be willing to give up my spot on the team to go individual so that another guy, whether it meant they were the alternate or not, was still able to compete. So I went individual, and then things just shook out. I got a little lucky. The big man upstairs is watching over me, and we get to go to the games now. So the volume's a lot higher than it was last year on the team. With a group, it's a lot harder. Like with just the two of us working out, like we kind of get in, get out, get all of our work done pretty quickly. But with a group, it's hard to coordinate 6 individuals, especially with all of us having different coaching schedules or different jobs and whatnot. So the volume's a lot higher. It's a little more intense, but I mean, I love it.
You were training with the team previously and started training. When did you start training with Garrett?
So leading up to the Open and stuff, Garrett and I did every morning session together. Tino was doing our programming for us. We called it the Fun Train. And then right before the Open, Tino kicked me off the Fun Train. We like to mess with him because that's when I started doing the team stuff. So I took a little break and started doing mostly team stuff for just like a week or two. And then like during the Open training, everybody kind of just trains together. And then after that is when I like fully jump back on the Fun Train.
So is there any particular aspect of training with each other, or dare I say like against each other, that works particularly well for pushing you to be the best athlete you can be?
Yeah, well, I mean, Garrett's a lot stronger than I am, so I know in workouts that involve a little bit heavier lifting, heavier barbells, or even some of the gymnastic stuff, I'm going to have to push a little bit harder if I want to compete with him. Whereas some of the more bodyweight movements or just like the longer aerobic capacity workouts, that's more my forte, so he has to push a little bit harder. So our strengths and our weaknesses kind of complement each other, so it's always a good training session.
I feel like that's a good dynamic to have. It pushes both of you to work on your weaknesses.
Yeah.
The fact that you have complementary strengths,
Yeah.
so you're having to push even harder to be as strong as possible. You have to push even harder to be, have your aerobic and anaerobic capacity to be as high as possible.
Yeah, we gotten to the point where like we look at our spreadsheet before, and you can kind of tell like between the two of us, like, okay, I think Garrett's going to get me on this one, so I'm going to have to go a little bit harder on this workout, or I've got the upper hand here, so I can't let him beat me on this workout, and vice versa for him as well.
Yeah. As far as your strengths, so he was just saying that you're stronger than him in many areas. Do you feel like that for you? You don't have anyone to chase as far as strength, like you're not as strong as you could be, or do you feel like your strength's still just as good as it would be otherwise?
No, I feel my strength's just as good as it could be otherwise. I don't know. I don't really get mixed up in strength numbers anymore too much like some people do. To me, if I can move a 220-pound barbell like fast, smooth, I think that's all you really need to be. You need to be good in CrossFit. Yeah.
Do you feel like your strength is like your 1 rep max numbers, strength numbers are high enough at this point?
I have good 1 rep max strength numbers. I think my strength really though is a heavier barbell and moving it a lot to That's what I'm really good at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is perfect for CrossFit, of course, especially for the games, because the games has heavy weights for a lot of reps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why this sport? Why you could compete in anything? What attracted you to this sport?
For me, nothing really attracted to me. This kind of happened. I was from Northern California, and that's when I started training with Jason, and I just started training with him every day, and I signed up for the Open. I did really well. Went to regionals. I did pretty well. I was like, man, I think I can make it to the games, and I made it in 2013. So it just kind of happened, and now I'm having fun, and I could have a good life, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah. Actually, last time you were on the show, we caught you up in NorCal.
Yeah.
That was episode 85. I looked it up earlier this morning. That must have been 3 years ago now.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm curious, how has your training and just your mindset around training evolved over those last 3 years since you were last on the show?
Training for me really hasn't changed too much. Just kind of come in, get stuff done, work hard. I've always felt like my training is the best when I condition a lot. So I make sure I focus on conditioning a lot and not, like I said, not necessarily worry about strength too much. And then just like mentally wise, like I know how to disconnect from the gym if I need to. And just competing at regionals multiple years, like you know how to prepare, you know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Holden? How do you train when you feel like your training's going the best?
Same thing. I like to do a lot of cardio, a lot of conditioning aspects and whatnot, but I also like to lift heavy here and there. So I think Tino does a really good job, along with CJ, of kind of balancing that out for the two of us. So we really we hit kind of all stimulus throughout the week, which is nice. Longer workouts, shorter workouts, sprint workouts, heavy workouts, light workouts. It's a really good mix-up. I feel it's the best when we have the most variety. If you get stuck in a rut of doing like the same kind of thing over and over, which we do assault bike every single day, but hey, nothing wrong with that. It gets kind of mentally draining, so it's good to keep things fresh, which they do a really good job of.
Nice. Holden, what got you into this sport? What attracts you to it?
Yeah, so I played college football for 4 years up at a small school up in Washington.
What school is that?
Central Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. So I played there for 4 years, and then after I graduated, I took a job working a desk job for a little while. And while I was doing that, I was just kind of working out at Anytime Fitness, just kind of trying to stay in shape, and decided that I really didn't like that. And so I looked up the local CrossFit gym and gave it a shot. That was back in like 2013, like October or so. So I started doing it then, and then almost qualified for regionals that year. I didn't know how to do muscle ups, so I taught myself the day before that open workout. I think it was that long chipper one or whatever.
Yeah.
And then after that, everything just kind of fell in place. I qualified for regionals the following year. That's where I met up with like CJ and all those guys, and then before I knew it, I actually partially owned a gym up there, and then hooked up with them more here. They invited me down, asked me to move down, so I sold my gym, moved down here January of last year, and then I've just been here ever since.
Yeah. So what was the main thing that made you decide like this is where you wanted to be? You want to be training with CJ at Invictus.
So I came down to the athlete camp. I guess that's like 3 Januaries ago now, like 2014. Right before the Open and regionals that year, and I just loved the community. It was really fun. I met a lot of good people down here, and then I was following the comp blog online, just kind of doing my own thing. And then after regionals, when they invited me to come down and train, and I came down here and just could instantly feel like the energy, because when I was up in Washington, I was training by myself every day, and it was fun, but it wasn't the same. And then I realized like with a group of guys, the opportunities that I would have down here, it was a no-brainer. So I sold my gym, packed my bags, loaded my car up, and drove down all within like a 1 to 2 week span.
Wow.
Very cool.
In most sports, we know what the competition is going to be. We know the duration of things. We know exactly what is going to be happening. Our opponents can surprise us, but in this sport, it's a surprise all the way around. How do you mentally prepare for that? Is that something you stay up late thinking about? Is there preparation strategies for that, or is it just kind of like, just go with the flow?
I don't really stress too much about it because I figure we do enough stuff throughout the year and our fitness is pretty good. Like, I'm not really worried. Like, if they throw something at us, it just comes down to being an athlete, and that's what we've been our entire lives. So I like the unknown aspect of things because then nobody knows, So it's not like somebody's going to have really an upper hand above someone else. It's just who's more fit than the other person,
What about you, Garrett? Do you ever stress about what the workouts are going to be? Or?
No, not at all. Honestly, I feel like if you have good training throughout the year, you should be prepared for anything. So I know personally, like when I'm fit, when I'm ready to go, and so if anything's thrown at me, I'm gonna be ready to go. But like I said, like those couple years I didn't make it, 2014, 2015, going into regionals, I knew I wasn't where I needed to be, like going into there, and it showed. So like these past 2 years, I feel ready, and so anything thrown at me, I'm gonna be ready to go.
How would you describe that mental state and how it changed?
For those years I didn't make it?
Yeah.
After 2013, going into 2014, to be honest, I was burnt out. I didn't really like training. The fire wasn't there no more. I was just exhausted. Like I didn't really want to be in the gym anymore. I still did, I guess, well. I got 5th place at regionals, but not where I wanted to be. And then 15 was kind of a hectic year for me because I was personal training Rick Ross at the time. So I was traveling.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I was traveling all over the world. Like that was just a crazy time for me. So training that year really wasn't a priority for me. And then after that ended, I flipped the switch again. And I was like, man, I want to get back to the games.
So is that more physically exhausted, like you're training volumes too high, you're under recovering, or is that like mentally, emotionally exhausted? You're trying really hard, like you didn't quite make it to the games, and you're kind of wondering like, fuck, like why am I burning myself into the ground all the time?
That was a little bit of both. But like I said, it was like 14, I was just mentally over it. And then 15 was just kind of other priorities in life happened.
So what turned it around again?
I just made the personal decision. Woke up one day, I was like, man, I want to go back to the games. Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like that. Yeah.
No big event. You just woke up like, fuck it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Cold turkey jumping.
So you guys are top in the world in this sport. I mean, going to the games. What do you think separates you from the others? Because there's a lot of people that walk in the gyms going, I want to go to the games.
Yeah. Just for Holden and I think just we put the work in. There's no way around it. I see a lot of people like, I want to go to the games, but they don't put the work in. They're not dedicated. Me and him been showing up, since like October?
Yeah.
October, maybe early September, and we've been putting the work in every single day. Mm-hmm. So I think that's honestly that separates us from other people who want to go to the games. It's consistency, and we don't talk about it. We just come in and just throw down.
Yeah, it's a lot of dedication that I think a lot of people like the idea of it. They just they don't like actually having to do it. And you do miss out on a lot of things outside the gym and whatnot. Making good decisions, trying to eat healthy, get good sleep so you can recover and whatnot. So it's a lot of dedication, and I think that's given us the biggest, I guess, advantage or edge.
I think the recovery piece is important to note because it's not hard for me to get in the gym and do the work. It's the not doing shit on Saturday night.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, I can't watch the sunrise on Sunday morning because I have to recover. I don't know.
It's kind of one of those things where you kind of have to eat, sleep, and breathe it for a while, for a few months out of the year. And in the end, it's all worth it. It might suck every once in a while when you see all your friends going out on Saturday night and you're like, no, I'm going to stay in because you got training on Sunday morning or whatnot. But and I think in the long run, it's all going to be worth it. Yeah, for sure.
It's all worth it. I mean, like qualifying after regionals, like it's so gratifying for me at least. Like every year I qualified, it definitely all the nights staying in, recovering, eating good. Like it's well worth it for me.
Yeah, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
So deep in the middle of the off season, when you're still 5-6 months out from the games, you've been training every month. Since the games last year.
Yeah.
The days that are really tough, where you're not doing the stuff that you think is fun. A lot of people they think they want to go to the games, they want to put in the work, but they want to put in the work on the things that they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone has the thing that they enjoy doing. Some people just love doing singles on snatches, and that's really fun. But that's not like deep in the in the suck of training. You say you do airdyne every day. Yeah. Like that. That's not fun all the time. So the days where it's like it is a grind and it is rough, like how do you get through those days, especially when you have like 6 months left to go?
I think we just kind of rely on each other. Like we have a really good group of people here that are all training together every day. And especially during the off season, like there's a big group of us, probably 10 or so, like our core group of people that train together. So, I mean, you're not going to be feeling 100% every day. It's inevitable. But you also don't want to let your friends beat you in a workout. So that competition aspect really drives you throughout the season. And it's a mental grind at some point for everyone. So it's nice to have other people here to pick you up. And I think that the two of us training together have done a really good job of that, like keeping each other in check, keeping each other motivated.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of pros and cons to training with other people who are tip-top in the world. You just said, you don't want to let somebody beat you, but at the same time, you got to train smart, and you got to know when to say, you know what, like, I'm not going to even do that workout at all. I'm taking the day off. Yeah. Or things like that. Like, how do you know when to, show up and maybe you're not feeling your best to just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to, dig deep and get it done, or, hey, I need to take a day off?
I think sometimes you just got to think, or you got to take a look at how your body actually feels. Is it mentally tired and I just don't feel like doing this, or is it my back's actually kind of tweaked, I shouldn't do this? So I think we do a good job of keeping each other in check in those aspects, and then also working with our with Tino and CJ, making sure that that they know how we're feeling at all times. So like Tino, like I said, he does most of mine and Garrett's programming for us. If we've got something that we look at the spreadsheet the week before or whatever, and we're like, dude, it's not going to happen this week. Like we're not feeling it. We need to back off a little bit. Or if we're like, hey, let's ramp it up a little bit more. Like let's try this instead. Like they're really willing to work with us based on how we're feeling every day.
And I think also too it comes down to maturity of athlete. He's been doing it for a while. I've been doing it for a while now too. So I know how my body feels. I know what it should feel like. Perfect example, like I think it was 2 weeks ago on a Monday, we were supposed to run hill sprints, and I woke up and I was like, dude, there's no way I'm going to start the week off. Like I was super exhausted, so I just texted him. I was like, hey, I'm not going to be there. and he just did his thing. And I came in the afternoon, and I felt great. Like I was ready to go for the whole week. So I think it comes down to a lot of maturity as an athlete too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, you guys went to the games. What did you feel was exposed for you personally when you went to the games, and something was like, what part of your body or energy system or whatever felt like it got the most exhausted?
For me, I feel like I was overtrained actually. Yeah, I actually went into the games. I felt I was a little overtrained. I wasn't recovered as I wanted, and the spark wasn't there. I didn't really have any push in any event. So this year, like I said, maturity as an athlete, I'm trying to be a little smarter, make sure I head into the games feeling fresh and ready to go.
Mine was a little different. I was on the team, so like physically, I didn't actually ever feel too bad. Big Bob sucked. That was terrible. But physically, I felt okay after the games. Like I had a really good experience. It was fun. It was more like mentally draining, just long days. So I definitely felt like that little mental dump at the end of the weekend. But we'll see. I mean, this is my first year as an individual, so it's going to be a whole new ball game.
Yeah. Garrett, I want to circle back. When you worked with Rick Ross, what was the big takeaway for you from that? What did you learn from that experience?
What did I learn? There's a whole nother life out there. I didn't really learn anything like life-wise. It was a whole new experience.
Did you learn anything about yourself? Did he teach you anything?
Came back with a whole new genre of music.
To be honest, it was a whole new experience, and it was just a crazy life, and it was a life that, to be honest, I didn't really enjoy it that much. Yeah, it was too hectic, and it just wasn't me.
It is interesting being somebody who grows up in sports and athletics your whole life.
Yeah.
And everything does seem to be pretty constant, so that you can train.
Yeah.
And then you get around people who that's not anywhere near their number one goal.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Yeah, it was chaos. Yeah, it was chaos. Chaos, a lot of fun, but it was a good experience. It was very, I got some good stories for sure. Yeah.
That you can't share here.
Before I wrap up, I have one last question. So, for each of you, what are your long-term goals for the rest of your career in the sport? Like, what do you want to accomplish before you're done?
I think as long as I keep having fun and I keep enjoying it every day, I'm gonna, keep competing. I think it was Rich originally said it the best. Once I start to suck, then I'll stop. So if that ever
that
happens,
sounds like
then
the time to do it.
I have no problem just jumping in and doing a group class. Like I enjoy training, I enjoy working out. Who knows where I'll be in a couple years from now. But I think for the meantime, like I really love coming in every day. Going through the hard work and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What Holden said, to be honest. I don't really have a kind of a looking back like what I want to accomplish in the sport. I just want to, as long as I'm coming in every day, having fun, throwing out with my friends, and I'm having a good life. I think it's a good life, then I'm just going to keep doing it. Yeah.
Guys, thanks for joining us today.
For sure.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. And stay tuned. We're going to get Maddie Myers and Lauren Fisher on next.
Hey everybody, Marcus Gurzy, co-host of the Barbell Business Podcast. If you're a gym owner who's looking to fix, build, or just take your gym from good to great, tune in every Tuesday to the Barbell Business Podcast. You can find us on iTunes and anywhere else you can download a podcast, or you can watch the video version on YouTube on the Barbell Shrugged channel. Tune in to find Doug, myself, and Mike Bledsoe talking about the latest tips and tricks to take your business to the next level. We'll see you Tuesday.
And we're back. Doug and I are here at CrossFit Invictus, and we just got to do a show. The first half was with Holden and Garrett, and now for the second half, we have a couple of the ladies here at CrossFit Invictus, and actually two of the strongest women that I've ever been in the presence of, I think. Mm-hmm. So, Maddie Myers, you just set American record in the clean and jerk and in the total.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Worlds.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. And you've only been lifting 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
3 years. And Lauren, you're known in CrossFit, in that sport, as somebody who's really good at weightlifting, and you've been a national champ in weightlifting as well.
Yeah. Maddie's a little bit stronger than me now. These up-and-comers are just getting so strong, so it's hard to keep up with them.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
So the 23-year-old saying up-and-comers.
Yeah.
The young people.
She's old.
And
I'm getting old
20?
now. 20, yeah.
20, 23.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're like the old woman in the group, and you're the young lady in the group?
I'm not really the old woman. I guess I'm more of the veteran, but
She's the wise one.
Yeah, I'm the wise one. So
Old wise.
Maddie's always getting advice from me, but I mean, I guess I'm the veteran of the gym, and now there's so many like teenagers, the CrossFit Games. So that's what I mean by up and comers is like now this sport is like trending downwards, where it's like you see like these 17, 18-year-olds like they're looking so strong. But I guess I'm still young, obviously, so I don't want to say that I'm old because then some people will get offended.
All the 30-year-olds.
Don't say that, Maddie.
Oh, I'm feeling very bad right now. And Lauren, you're going to the games.
Yeah.
And Maddie, you just missed
Yeah.
going to the games. You were one spot off.
Yeah.
So you've had ups and downs this year. You're setting records, and you missed the games by one spot. How's that feel?
That was really hard at first because I missed it, and then I was back in the gym weightlifting one day after I missed it by one spot, and then a week and a half later I was on a plane to Tokyo, and so that was a really hard turnaround. But then it was also good because it taught me that I had to have a really fast mental reset and really just focus on weightlifting and forget regionals, and then come back, and now I'm back training with Lauren. And I think Lauren missed it one year, my really good friend Reagan Huckabee missed it one year, and then they came back and smashed it. Lauren won her region that year, and then Reagan got second this year after missing it. So I just have to realize it's not the end of the world. I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
In some ways, is that a relief now that you're done with CrossFit and you can focus solely on weightlifting? Because I know you're trying to hit the senior American records at this point, is what CJ was telling us earlier. So is it easier to stay focused on one sport at a time?
Yeah, it's a lot easier. And I think this year we did sit down and we did say that weightlifting was going to be the focus this year, and CrossFit was going to be on the back burner, and kind of what I could do in CrossFit this year was what I could do, but it wasn't going to be a lot of training towards it. And so now we're going to kind of have until December, and I'm just going to weightlift, and that's going to kind of be my last big year weightlifting. And then I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break competing from both after December.
Gotcha. Did you get into weightlifting first or CrossFit first?
Same time.
Same time.
Yeah. Everyone thinks I've only been weightlifting as long as I've been doing CrossFit. I just learned how to weightlift way faster than how to wall ball and double under and run.
Yeah, I'm more naturally good for it. Yeah.
And Lauren, have you put any focus into weightlifting specifically lately, or are you primarily focused on CrossFit these days?
Right now I'm primarily focused on CrossFit. I mean, I've had a lot going on since 2015 when I sprained my ankle, didn't qualify for regionals, sprained my ankle 2 weeks prior to regionals, then didn't qualify, then I went on Team Invictus, and then that whole 2016 I just wanted to make it back to games, and weightlifting kind of was on a back burner. And I mean, nowadays there's so many CrossFit competitions, and there's weightlifting competitions, and so I kind of want to do more CrossFit than weightlifting, but doesn't mean though I still want to get back into weightlifting. It's just right now my focus is more towards CrossFit, and it's really hard when you're doing CrossFit all the time to keep up numbers. Maddie's really gifted, she can do CrossFit and be really, really strong, but for me, I think now, if I want to keep up with girls like her, I need to focus just on weightlifting. So it's you kind of have to choose one or the other nowadays if you want to be competing with the top girls from Team USA.
Why do you think it's different for the two of you, where you can focus on CrossFit, Maddie, and your strength numbers stay really high, but you said you're not like that? Why do you think that's different between the two of you?
Maddie's just freakishly strong, and she just has some natural ability where if she doesn't lift, she's just gonna be that really strong girl. And that's same with my brother Garrett. He can not lift and just do CrossFit, and he's gonna be really strong. But I think for me, my body type is meant to be a little bit smaller and more running and assault bike are good for me, but it's hard for me to keep on mass and be really strong at both.
Well, actually, on that note, what do you do to keep on as much mass as possible, or is that even part of your focus these days?
Well, my nutrition has played a big role this year. I've been working with Jen Ryan from Invictus, so I've been following a macronutrient diet, and I'm eating way more food than I did last year. I eat 400 carbs a day, 190 grams protein, and 88 grams of fat, so it's around over 3,000 calories a day, and like still feeling a little bit hungry. I mean, not even close to how I was feeling last year, but I feel really good. And so I'm weighing in like every morning around 135. So it's really hard for me to keep on weight no matter how much I eat.
Dang.
The Fisher metabolism.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Women everywhere.
That's
just
really
like,
good.
"Oh."
That's right. That's right. I'm just so lean and I eat so much food all the time.
But how much are you training?
Training 2 or 3 times a day. Yeah. About like, it depends on the session, but probably around like, 4 to 6, probably like 4 to 5 hours.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, at
So
least.
You're moving 4 to 5 hours a day. Most people get in the gym and move for an hour.
Yeah, an hour or
and
two.
then they
So
leave,
everyone.
and they're like, oh, I don't know why.
Yeah, everyone's completely different. So don't recommend following my diet specifically. Like,
I
Lauren
would be
Fisher
like
is eating that
75
much. Now I'm going to
kilos.
eat that much.
Do you find it's hard to put down that much food during the course of a day?
No, it's actually pretty easy because I get most of my, like, it's all about nutrition timing too. So I get most of my carbs in the morning, like right before I'm about to train. And then in between sessions, like right after I have a session, I have like 70 grams of carbs in my protein shake. And I have two shakes a day. So that's already 140 grams of carbs, like right after I'm done training. And then I also have a meal in between my training sessions. So I'm getting most of my meals earlier in the day, which is why it gets down so much easier, I guess.
How many of those meals are burritos?
Well, I usually like to cheat, but none are burritos right now. I'm a little bit stricter with my diet, but I'm still more lenient than other girls. Like if people are gonna go out and eat like tacos or burritos, and I'm gonna enjoy myself too and not be crazy. Like, oh no, I just had a burrito or taco. Like that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy myself a little bit, like on the weekends.
Yeah. Garrett was saying you guys love burritos around here.
Oh yeah, Mexican food. I mean, we live right near Mexico.
Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, Taco Tuesday. We used to do Taco Tuesday every Tuesday after we used to do rowing Tuesday night, so that was always fun.
Yeah.
But we love our Mexican food.
Are you pretty strict with your diet these days, Maddie?
I'm pretty, for the most part, because I still have to stay in a weight class, which is also the bummer of doing both, is that I can't just decide to put on mass or lose weight because I want to sit right at like 63 kilos. And then recently we've had a problem staying up there, so I've had to increase because I keep weighing in at like 61 at meets. Now, I don't want to be the tiny girl because you can't. Tie breaks aren't done by body weight anymore, so we're trying to keep me like just perfectly at 63.0.
Oh yeah, that's something I hadn't really thought about until you just said it just now. The fact that you're doing weightlifting and CrossFit at the same time, you're one of the only CrossFit athletes that has to worry about weighing a certain amount.
Yeah. Like
that's
leading up to games last year, I definitely got a little chunky. I think just because we're training and I was getting inflamed and I was just eating a ton. And so then like the next like month I had to like cut it all off right away. So that's not always fun. I used to be a 58 though, and that took way too much out of my CrossFit training to weigh that little and still train as much as I did.
Yeah. I have a question for each of you. It's about the other. I'll start with Maddie. In your opinion, like what makes Lauren special? Like what makes Lauren able to, be as good as she is at CrossFit, and what makes her special as a person?
I would say her drive and her work ethic, definitely. I think she's probably a little bit better than me at coming in every day, taking everything seriously and focusing on everything, whereas like focus-wise I'm sometimes like up in the clouds and I like to talk to everyone a little bit like all over the place. But Lauren's like, we're doing this, then we're doing this, and she does she works hard and puts like effort into every single workout. Even if she's tired and doesn't want to do it, she'll come in and do it. So I'd say
you, Maddie.
And Lauren, what do you think about Maddie?
I think Maddie honestly just has like all the potential in the world. She's freakishly talented. Like she's so strong at weightlifting and she's really good at gymnastics, but I don't think Maddie like has yet to know like how much talent she does have. But she comes in every day and puts in the work just as much as I do. I think, but once Maddie starts to realize her potential and kind of just focus mentally, like, which is what, like, I'm always trying to tell her, like, don't worry about anyone else, like, just focus on you. And, like, if you can do your best, like, she's going to go out and crush everyone because she has so much potential. So I think, honestly, for her, she's so young, so it's just a little bit more experience and focusing more on the mental aspect and not worrying if, like, one event doesn't go her way. She can be really, really good.
Yeah.
So wise. This is why she's the wise one.
What got you guys into the sport? What draws you to do weightlifting and CrossFit?
So I started when I was 14, and my brother Garen, my brother Ryan got me into it. And at first they were like, oh, because I used to play basketball competitively, and they were like, we're training with this guy Vince Carter, and I was like, Vince Carter, the basketball player? Like, I was like super psyched up about it. I don't know why I believed them. I was like 14 years old. And then I went to the gym, and it wasn't Vince Carter, the basketball player. And then
the other
got
Vince
tricked.
Carter.
Yeah, they tricked me. And then I just ended up going, like, I did my first workout, and I was immediately hooked, and I did it like three days a week during my off season for my other sports, just as like a side benefit to like build up that strength and conditioning. And so then by my junior or senior year, my coach at the time, Gabe Subry, was like, Lauren, you could be really good at this. Like, I could see you going to the CrossFit Games. And I was like, what is the CrossFit Games? Like, I didn't really know what it was. And then my senior year, when I was 18, I qualified for my first regionals, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I took 12th place there, like versus like all these top name athletes like China Cho, Alessandra Pacelli, Jenny LeBaugh, like all these top girls. So I was just like super honored at the time to be there, and just love doing something different every single day, which is why I keep doing CrossFit. Like, it's just always different, and you're never doing the same thing.
You think training with your brothers, and what impact did that have on you as a competitor? And from what I understand, there's a family element of competition.
Oh, my family's super competitive, and so I think that's kind of like my, I don't know, like my extra, what's the word for it? I don't know, like I just have that like inner drive to always want to win. Like, my dad always like taught us, like, you can be anything you want to be, you just need to work hard at it, and you just need to put your full effort into it. So I'm just like so competitive, like whether it's Monopoly, Marco Polo, basketball, like we played everything outside. And so I always wanted to just beat my older brothers. I have 3 older brothers, and so I always just wanted to win. And so that's kind of in CrossFit the same thing. I go into a workout and I want to be the best, and so it's just that inner competitiveness, like I hate to lose.
So you guys got that from your parents?
Definitely from my parents. Probably a little bit more than my dad, than my mom, but still give some props to my mom. Yeah.
What about you, Matt? Did you have a competitive upbringing, so to speak?
I was always in sports, and then how I got into CrossFit was that I hurt my shoulder. I was a competitive rock climber for a long time, and the CrossFit gym was like right next door, and so I started doing that. And then my climbing coach was like, hey, Maddie, like, you keep going over there more than you're coming over here. And then finally I kind of realized, like, I think I like this more. Like, I think it's fun. And I had no idea, like, it was a competitive sport. I just liked it. And then that was when I was 16, 17, and then I ended up making regionals my senior year of high school too, and that was the first year I made games. And I met CJ at like a weightlifting meet, and it was like my first weightlifting meet ever. I think we lied about doing a local meet to get into it. It was youth nationals, and I broke the American record, and I was like, whoa, I was like, I didn't really know. I was like, I didn't know this was a sport. I didn't really know you could do only the clean and jerk. I think I snatched like 60 kilos or something, and then I clean and jerked. I think it was like 102 or something. They were so skewed because I was like, I didn't have the technique. Like, I was not a technical athlete. I just it was really ugly. CJ won't let me ever forget it. And that's where I actually met CJ, was at that youth nationals, and then that's kind of where it took off, and he was kind of like, you know, you could be really good at this if you ever want to like come down to San Diego and like, you know, actually train really seriously. Like, you have a lot of potential. So that's kind of how it started.
So you set, if I heard you correctly, you set an American record in a sport that you didn't even really know existed.
Yeah.
Like one of the first times you ever tried it, and then CJ was like, maybe you could be good at this.
Yeah, it was my first meet, and I was a 63 youth lifter, and I set the clean jerk in the total, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And my parents came, and they were like, I don't think they'd ever really seen me, like, they weren't expecting that, and they were like, we don't know what just happened. They're like, you just won. I think they're... And my family's like not competitive at all. So to have a kid who was winning at sports, they're like, whoa, this is different. Mm-hmm. Like my sister is very smart and likes to do school, and so I was kind of different. I didn't have super sportsy competitive brothers. I'm like, come from a academia family.
Mm-hmm. So those are the same records that you just set in Tokyo at was it Junior Worlds?
Yeah, those were the ones I set there were youth, and then at Tokyo I set junior and this clean and jerk in total again. Yeah.
So what was the weight class and what were the records that you set?
It was 63 weight class, and I clean and jerked 122, and my total was 213.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of strong.
Kind of strong.
Yeah.
What about you? How are your numbers doing in weightlifting these days? Are you feel like you're falling behind? Does that compared to Maddie? Does that wear on you?
I don't really compare myself to Maddie or to any of the other girls with my numbers, because right now I'm like focused on CrossFit and doing the best I can at the CrossFit Games. So if girls like Maddie are doing that in weightlifting competitions, like I'm not gonna let that affect me. I mean, my numbers have been stagnant since 2014. I've had the same 110 clean and jerk and the same 83 kilo snatch since 2014. But nowadays it's so hard for top athletes to PR at our level. Like you're constantly trying to get better at something like else, like trying to get better at strongman, trying to get better at your gymnastics. Like it's like you can never really focus on one thing. And I mean, at regionals there was no barbell, so why does it matter how much you're clean and jerking or snatching right now when you're not really even seeing that much of it? And even at the open, like it's not like we're going for a 1 rep max lift. And I'm not really ever going to be the strongest lifter in CrossFit anymore, but I'm still going to be like one of the top. But that's all you need to kind of be. Just need to be even across the board.
Mm-hmm.
They're good enough for CrossFit.
Yeah, they're good. My numbers are good enough for
they're
CrossFit.
way good enough for CrossFit.
So I'm curious from both of you, like what's the hardest part about competing in weightlifting and CrossFit?
I would say for me the hardest part, because just as Lauren was saying, like weightlifting comes naturally to me. You take me off running an assault bike and I will come back very out of condition and have a really hard time. So for me, the struggle is that if I put a large emphasis on weightlifting, I will get really strong, probably a lot quicker than other girls will, and they probably wish they could get strong that fast. But the downside is that I will get, like, my conditioning goes away like that. Like, if I don't keep up with it, then I'll be, like, running 11-minute miles and be, like, on the floor dying. So for me, that's probably been the hardest thing. And then just, there's only so much you can do in a day without overtraining. So it's kind of figuring out, like, which one I care about more, because CrossFit and weightlifting have both gone to a point where I don't really think you can be the best at either, doing both. I think eventually, and that's kind of what I came to this year, was that I felt like I was spread way too thin. And so I'm kind of taking now to December to really like sit down and decide like which one do I care about more and like which one do I really want to pursue, because the weightlifters are getting so strong. Like you have Morgan King and Maddie Rogers and all these people who they started in CrossFit, but now they're just weightlifting. And then like, you have girls like Lauren and all the strong CrossFit girls. It's hard to do both at the top level. I think you could do it 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think you can do it as well anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's more competitive now.
Yeah, definitely, especially on the weightlifting side. I feel like weightlifting like 4 or 5 years ago was like a non-existent sport, and CrossFit has been like a really good feeding system into it. But now it's way more competitive to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you, Lauren? What's the hardest part about competing in CrossFit?
Well, I was going to say basically what Maddie said is spot on. It's just like so hard to be good at both. Like if you're just focusing on weightlifting, you're going to lose ground on your conditioning. And when you're out on the track, like you're not going to be running as fast as the other girls. And like your assault bike, you're going to be like getting off minutes slower than everyone else. Just just because like you haven't been working that conditioning. So it's hard when you're focusing on weightlifting, you lose that conditioning. And then say you focus on CrossFit more and you're running like 3 to 4 times a week, doing assault bike twice a week, rowing, like basically cardio every single day, and your legs get a little bit smaller, like you get more leaner, and you're just not going to be able to keep those numbers up as high as you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in regard to preparation and training, not knowing what's happening at the games, is that, how do you mentally prepare for that?
Again, like we have good coaches like Tino and CJ. They're preparing us with a program just for anything. So we're doing anything and everything you can imagine. Swimming, rowing, running, like assault bike, all the cardio, because at the CrossFit Games, like as we've seen in the past, it's so much is heavily based on running. So making sure our aerobic base is there, and then also still putting in the barbell, doing a lot more dumbbell work now, adding in the strongman training, gymnastics. You just every single day you need to practice everything to make sure that when you get there you just feel the most prepared, and you're like, wow, I never really worked on that or did that. But if you can come in just trusting the program, then I think you can do really good.
Yeah. And from what I understand, you just had surgery on your ankle.
Yeah.
How's that recovering?
It's doing so much better than last year. Leading up to 2016 games, I couldn't even run for like 2 months because I was getting so much pain in my ankle. It was like so weak, and it was really weird. Couldn't do sled pushes, so no one really knew that. Yeah, it was swollen all the time.
It was like massive.
Yeah.
She'd like run like a 400, and the next day
it would be
like
so swollen, and I couldn't
double the
really do
size.
anything. So not many people know that. I mean, I won California regionals probably on a busted up ankle, and then I went to 2016 games, and it was primarily running. So that's not going to favor someone who hasn't been running at all. And then after the 2016 games, I immediately got an MRI and found out that I had a torn peroneal tendon with 2 centimeter tear. So almost like it's pretty big tear, longitudinal tear, and then I had an osteochondral lesion, big words right here, but a piece of my bone had clipped off. I think probably when I had sprained my ankle in 2015, like that collision caused a piece of my bone to clip off, and so that's why I get more swelling in my ankle. And then I also had some loose bone fragments like going around in my ankle, and the doctor was like, I can't believe that you competed on this ankle, because after I had the surgery, he's like, I had to do major reconstructive, like your ankle was like coming out of its socket, so I had to like put it back in its place. He was like, I cannot believe that you competed on that. And he's like, you must be a really like tough person. And I'll like, yeah, well, I do CrossFit, I guess, but I don't know. So that he said it would be 5 to 6 months before I would be back. So I got my surgery August 31st, so I was like just in time for the Open to make it back. Like I literally started squatting in January. I didn't start running until like February, doing double unders. Like my recovery time, or I had a much longer off season than everyone else. Like I was in a boot for I can't remember how long exactly, but it was like for maybe 2 months or so, just trying to do as much as I could, but you couldn't do much, and then just like not being able to go below parallel. So I mean, coming into the Open, then I won the Open, and just trusting the process and doing everything I can to get my upper body really strong, and knowing that my legs at the time, like they'll come back. It's just will be a little bit longer. So now it's looking really good though. I'm running 3 to 4 times a week, and my ankle's feeling like 100% compared to last year. I mean, still obviously it gets stiff and achy after I run a lot, but the doctor said it wouldn't be 100% until like a year after surgery. So it's been a long process. Ever since 2015, my ankle has not been the same since I sprained it. So just making sure I do all the rehab and everything for it.
Yeah. How do you stay positive through that whole process, knowing that you have a body part that's not 100%?
I think kind of just focusing on the things that you can do. Like you could be like, wow, I have a busted up ankle. I can't do anything. I can't squat. I can't run. Like just focusing on everything you can do, and not like worrying about everyone else and saying, oh, they're squatting, they're getting really strong, like they're getting really good at this, but just focusing on me and making the best at what I can do at the time, and just going in every day and enjoying what you're doing, because like it's going to be hard when you're like in a boot, not able to do anything, but like just looking forward to that day, like, oh, I get to do rope pulls, or I get to do strict muscle ups that day, like looking forward to what you get to do with the other body parts, like you can make the most of it. And also just thinking like, oh, I'm going to get really strong abs, like my abs used to be weak, and I was like, now I'm going to get a really strong core, strong upper body, like just focusing on like the things that you can make work, and like soon your other weaknesses can turn into strengths. Yep.
Yeah, I found that to be true. Anytime I get injured, I get good at something I wasn't intending on getting good at.
Yeah, that's how it always ends up working out. So
real good at the assault bike.
Yeah, I'm really good at the assault bike. I was doing like just arms and then one-legged assault bike, and yeah, so it all worked out.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today, ladies.
Yeah,
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very insightful. And we're back, and we are actually hanging out with the coaches here at CrossFit Invictus. We've done a show with you before, CJ.
Yep.
What episode was that, Doug?
Just recently. That was episode 262.
And we also have Tino. Oh, you're going to have to help me with your last name now. Marini. And thank you.
Italian, Scottish, European, American.
Yeah.
That's right.
Italian American. Yeah.
So when you hear the Scottish guy, that's Tino.
Yeah.
So we just got done talking to the athletes that you guys are coaching. 3 of them are going to the CrossFit Games. One of them just set some American records in weightlifting. So good job.
Yeah.
Something's working.
I think we're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What would you say attracts these athletes here to work with y'all?
Well, I think we've created a community here that allows them to be successful. And so we've been coaching athletes since 2009 when we opened our doors, took our first team to the CrossFit Games then. And so over the course of that time, I think we've learned a lot from the athletes, and we've been able to develop a community of athletes. And then when people see that there's like-minded athletes who are succeeding at some place, it makes it a little easier, on our part to continue to attract them. So it's been really nice. A kid like Maddie Myers grew up in New Mexico. She wants to pursue athletics, and as she applies for colleges, she's applying to San Diego because she already knows that there's a group of athletes here. So we've just been really blessed and fortunate to get some kids like that. It was the same. Lauren came down. She graduated high school in 2012 and applied to San Diego State, and so came down. And then Garrett, by virtue of Lauren being here and us having a lot of other good athletes that he could train with, made the move out to San Diego. So for us, it's awesome. We're just blessed to continue to get some great athletes to work with, and because they work with each other, I think they just continue to get better.
Yeah, I mean, you have hundreds of athletes both in your physical locations. You have 3 locations here in San Diego, and you train a bunch of athletes online as well. You sent 3 teams to regionals this year and many individuals to regionals, and now you have quite a few people going to the games, 1 team as well as a couple individuals. For the people we just interviewed, for Garrett and Lauren and Maddie and Holden, Maddie is the sole weightlifter in the group that didn't quite make it to the game. She was one place off, which is a super bummer.
Yeah.
Sometimes being that close is more of a bummer than being far away. But for each one of them individually, they're all amazing athletes. Like what makes them so much better than the rest of the amazing athletes you have here? Like what drives them to the top of the heap?
Sure. I think work ethic. I mean, all of these guys have a hard. They're willing to come in and put in the work. But it's what they do outside the gym to try to make sure that they stay focused on training. That I think our best athletes do a better job of that sometimes in proper fueling and making sure that they're paying attention to their sleep quality and their sleep habits. I would say that's a big portion of it. Yeah. They're also more experienced than a lot of the guys, right? And that just comes down to we've got some great athletes coming up that are younger. And just haven't had time to develop. But somebody like Garrett and Lauren, Lauren's young. She's 23, 24, but people forget her first regionals was 2012. And so she's had a lot of time to develop in the sport. And so I think, I think the fact that they've had time and good consistent training.
Yeah, I think Holden was probably the best example of that. Holden moved down, pretty much like sold his gym, moved down last year. Was on 2 years ago you moved down?
No, it's been about a year and a half.
Yeah, he was on the team last year, and then he worked his ass off. Like he worked super hard this year, and was always committed to the team and trained with Garrett every single day. He pushed Garrett pushed him, and then when that regionals came around, then we kind of made the decision where we'd push him individual, and we knew he was going to be successful. But he's probably the best example we had of coming down, training with athletes, training in this environment, and it's just helped them excel really, really well.
Right.
You mentioned that the things they do outside the gym are debatably even more important in some cases than the things they do inside the gym. People love training. That's the fun part. The things outside the gym, those are the tough things because they're not really sexy. They're not fun a lot of times. And some of those things could be said for coaching as well. Like it's easy to coach an athlete in the gym, but then the other 23 hours of the day, like what do you guys do as coaches to help them when they're not in the gym?
We do a lot of counseling.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are highly driven athletes. They're type A athletes. There's a lot of pressure on them. As the sport's grown, there's become more and more pressure from sponsors, and there's financial pressure and the volume of training. A lot of these guys aren't working other jobs, and the guys that are working other jobs, we're talking to them about trying to balance things. And so, we always say that I think we do a lot more coaching outside of the gym and trying to get these guys, really kind of finely tuned and paying attention to their lifestyle stuff, and just keeping them mentally balanced so that they can make the duration of the season. It's a long season. Yeah. CrossFit is a really long season. And so just keeping them balanced, and mentally, motivated to be here, I think is probably the most important part of what we do.
It's kind of like you treat them as individuals as well, because the conversations that I'll have with Holden are totally different from the conversation I have with Garrett. And it's like having that understanding of who you're coaching and how you kind of relay information to them, especially outside of the gym. And I think that we've done that well with whether that be individuals or whether that be with team, is like treating them as individuals, and making sure that we're doing the most we can for them and their kind of adaptation across the year.
Tino, you don't sound like you're from here.
Mm-mm.
What's your background?
So I'm originally from Scotland. Family's Italian. My grandparents moved over to Scotland for some reason, from Italy. And then...
for some reason?
For some reason. For work. It was for work. Half of the family went to New York. They went to really nice places, and my grandparents decided Glasgow, Scotland was the best place. So yeah, I grew up in Scotland. I was a professional soccer player, and then I fell into CrossFit. Long story short, I actually did my level 1 here at CrossFit. It was CrossFit San Diego at the time.
You were in Scotland?
Yeah, I came over, I discovered CrossFit, came over to just watch 2010 games, and I did my level 1 here.
This is where I did my level 1 too.
Yeah.
My first one,
yeah.
08.
I was 10. And then I dropped into Invictus, and at the time I was like, I want to be an athlete, this is awesome. And CJ just started his online programming. Well, yeah,
I've been doing it.
You've been doing it for a bit.
Started charging people.
Yeah, I started charging people for online programming. So I ended up starting with CJ. I actually still have my program looking back. I think it was like October 2010 I started. And then through different things, we obviously built a relationship, and I ended up coming out here and helping with the online stuff. And then I met my wife and got married, had a baby, and hung around for a bit longer.
Yeah. So a lot of you were doing CJ's programming, and then helped out, and now you're helping, primarily helping out with Garrett and Holden and a lot of the other athletes here in the gym.
And then the online stuff. I mean, the cool thing that I had coming from an online perspective is that online programming is totally different from coaching athletes, because having an athlete the other side of the world, whether it be Australia, Dubai, or Europe, you ask questions that don't really come up on a one-to-one basis with an athlete in the gym. So I had that experience, and it allowed me to kind of coach athletes from afar. And then I was still coaching in the UK, and then obviously coming here, and the level of athletes stepped up, and obviously just surrounding myself with people like CJ and other great coaches has obviously helped me develop and then help coach these guys.
So I'm curious, for each individual athlete, maybe we'll start with Lauren. What makes Lauren special? What are her strengths, weaknesses, her upbringing, et cetera? What makes her uniquely good?
I think her competitive drive. Lauren is probably the most competitive person I've ever met, and we had a great experience actually with Maddie, Val Vobrel, and Lauren in Miami at Wadapalooza one year, and Maddie was newer to the sport, obviously, but they had to enter the water, and they're running down a ramp, and Lauren was on a different team from Maddie and Val, and Lauren just kind of pushes by and leaps into the water while Maddie and Val are just kind of tiptoeing down this ramp, right? But afterwards, they came out, and Maddie's like, that that was so rude. Lauren like pushed me out of the way. And I was like, I know, that was awesome. That is competing.
Learn from that.
like her.
Take notes.
Yeah. And so,
Copy that.
but that's something that Lauren's had in her since the day that I first saw her was the 2012 regionals. Gabe Subri, who owned the gym that she was working out at the time, he came up and told me, he's like, hey, I've got a great 17-year-old girl. I'd love to introduce you to her. I want her to move down to San Diego. She's applying to colleges. And so he pointed her out. And in 2012, there was a workout that was row, pistols, and then barbell cleans, right? And hang cleans. And at the time, that weight was heavy for Lauren. And the thing I loved is she had just done a set of like 2, right? Barbell drop. She looked exhausted. And you saw her judge tell her, like, you only have 10 seconds left before the time cap. And as soon as she dropped that bar and the judge told her, she went, grabbed it, like did a set of 3 or something, finished and stepped across the line right before the time cap, right? And so she didn't even perform that well on the workout. But what I saw when I'm sitting in the stands is like, here's a girl that as soon as she knows her back's against the wall is going to fight for it, right? That she knew she only had short time. And she didn't just sit there and let the clock ride out. She did the opposite. She took instead of taking that long rest she would have taken, she was instantly back on. And I think those things, some of those intrinsic characteristics that, when athletes come to us with those, that's awesome. Because you can make them, you can make them stronger and faster. But that is really important. So.
Very hard to teach that as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have any thoughts on Lauren before we move on to the next person?
Work ethic.
Yeah.
Obviously, people come with us that are athletes, and being an athlete only gets you so far. The 3 guys that qualified, the biggest thing for me is work ethic. Like, these guys come into the gym and bust their asses every day, and they put the work in and they listen and they take everything on board. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. What about Garrett? What makes Garrett unique?
Let you speak to Garrett.
Yeah. Garrett came down and we didn't really know him. Obviously, been to games before, and we're like, he probably just want to come in and do his own thing. And then last year after games, we sat down with him. We're like, yeah, we'd love to help you, and he's been really receptive to taking on like new information. So Garrett came to us. I wouldn't say he was broken, but he had like a lot of imbalances, and we spent a lot of time like doing stuff that Julian's done, and kind of like lining him back up again. And like most athletes would be like, no, I've done this before. Like, just I'm just gonna get on with my training. He was like, Garrett, we think you should do this. Cool. Okay, how much weight do you want to put on this sled, or what do you want me to do next? And he's been like super easy to work with. He comes in, he's always the first person that comes in, and he'll make the guys go. Like, he'll be like, hey guys, like, we're starting in 10 minutes. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're not ready, I'm starting without you. And he'll come in, get his work done, make sure he gets everything in, gets out of the gym, has his like recovery food, sleeps well, eats well. He's kind of like a proper professional athlete.
Yeah.
Him and Kristen Holte are probably very similar in that way. It's like they're very dedicated to being an athlete, and their life is like being an athlete as like their priority, and obviously Lauren as well.
Yeah, Garrett's, I think his mindset and that level of professionalism also, right? He does all the things to prepare well, but then at regionals, he had an event that didn't go his way. And we talked about it for 2 minutes, and he's like, well, that one's over. Like, I'm going to get focused on the next. And that's stuff that I think is maturity as an athlete. It's hard to teach for a lot of people. They'll get stuck in that bubble. But his ability to just be very professional and be very focused on things, I think, is a major benefit for him.
Yeah, he's been able to. I remember after the first event, no, it was the second event, sorry, and some stuff happened during the event, and he's like, I just need to control what I can control, and that's his performance. And he knew his performance. He did everything he could in that workout, whereas like most athletes would be really beat up. They'd be like, oh, I did terrible, like this happened and that happened, and literally it was like CJ said, like 5-minute conversation, this went wrong, and that was it, and he pushed on. So
what would you say about Maddie? How does she stand apart?
Maddie, Maddie, I think a lot of times we forget Maddie's 20 years old. She's actually very mature in a lot of ways for a 20-year-old, but she is insanely talented, right? She's insanely talented as an athlete. She's strong, she's fast, all of those things. And what's been impressive to me and is how she's learn to come into a group environment, learn to deal with pressure. And so like this year, you said she missed by one spot. But honestly, I think it's the best thing that will ever happen to Maddie because she has so much talent that just getting to regionals or just getting to the games isn't going to be her long-term projection, right? And so the fact that she just missed this year and the way she's coming back from that and the way she's viewing it as an opportunity to grow, I think is probably going to be the attribute not that has gotten her to where she is, but the attribute that will get her even further in both CrossFit and weightlifting is that she knows how much it means to her now. And sometimes when you've just been successful all the time, it's hard to know what that means, right? She made it to the CrossFit Games as a high school senior, and so that was the first year. Last year she went team, so there was never any doubt that the team was going to qualify, and so she's always just been successful. Even in weightlifting, she was putting up great numbers even as, in her very first competition. I think she was, she won and may have been close to some American youth records, right?
Yeah.
And so she's always had this great talent base. What I get really excited for with Maddie is once she's really honing all that and really directing that, once she's, and she's doing that now. She's doing the things that Lauren and Garrett, like we were talking, that professional approach with Garrett, she's able to start really directing her focus. And that's going to mean that I think the next couple of years are going to be massive for Maddie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that she had a plan for how to approach how she's going to move forward all the way out till December,
right.
January.
Yeah.
And when I was 20 years old, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No way I was thinking about things that far out. Yeah.
Right.
And finally, what about Holden? What makes him unique as an athlete?
Yeah.
He's like the definition of workhorse. Like since he came here, he's just busted his ass. He, like, one of the best things that happened to both Garrett and Holden was finding each other's training partners, and they kind of go back and forward on workouts every single week. And I think that for Holden, he's just been able to push beyond his limits, because you'll see he's super motivated when he trains with Garrett, because Garrett will do something, he's like, well, I need to do that. And he performs so much better in that environment, whereas before I think he was training by himself and kind of, he was making progress, but he wasn't making as much progress as what he did over the last year when kind of Garrett came into the gym. But yeah, he's just worked really, really hard, kept a really good attitude, focused on his training, and then on the lead up, the turn of the year, he started dialing in stuff that we were talking about, like nutrition, his sleep, and working on stuff outside of the gym to make sure he's optimizing performance within the gym.
Mm-hmm. How are you guys programming, and do you do any mental preparation with the athletes around preparing for a competition where we don't know what's coming?
Yeah, so we design programs together. We'll kind of, compare some notes and think about how we can tweak these guys. This time of year, as we go into the games and we don't know what the events will be, we start to throw them into things that are way less comfortable or outside of their comfort zone. So we'll get them out of the gym a lot more. We've sent them on swims that they don't know the distance of. And so they're thinking it's a half mile, and it turns out to be like a 1.3 mile swim, and some stuff like that. And just to really throw them outside the comfort zone, I think is important, because we know when they get there, something's going to go wrong, or they're going to be, faced with something that they're not used to. So we just look for opportunities to do some stuff like that, where we, forcing them to use odd objects that they wouldn't normally use in a year, and just seeing how they react to that when it gets tough.
Yeah, I like that. Surprise them. Oh, well, that's got to be fun, right?
Yeah.
It's fun for us. Yeah.
It's fun to watch.
Fun for you, frustrating for them.
Right, probably.
Yeah. If someone want to find out more about what you guys are up to, where do they go?
Yeah, just invictusfitness.com or crossfitinvictus.com, or we have a YouTube page, Tino.
YouTube page. We've got Instagram page.
Yeah. I think YouTube is Invictus Athlete.
Instagram is CrossFit Invictus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. This was really cool to be able to talk to athletes and talk to their coaches.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
guys.
fellas.
Yeah.
Cool.